lot of tremendous volunteers. It is really, even though as you go to the GSF, YMCA.org, and see some of the folks who are actually paid staff at the Y, you know that to run so many of the programs, whether it's soccer, whether it's swimming, whether it's basketball, you've got to have a lot of great volunteers there. Are there volunteer opportunities still?
There are always volunteer opportunities, from assisting with some senior programs all the way down to the after-school programs that the YMCA runs, as well as summer camps. I don't think you can have enough volunteers in an organization like the YMCA, and I'm sure everyone would echo that out there.
That's great. For viewers who may not be familiar with the Y or have never been there, what are some of those central programs, and maybe a little bit about just if there's a principal mission there of the Y?
Yeah, well, there is a principal mission. It's Christian driven, so there's a religious component. The Y does not hide from that, and they interject that into their programs as positively as they can without it being a little overwhelming.
Good.
They do serve from the youngest of ages through after-school care. They take kids there as well as through the sports programs. They're active in basketball and soccer. From that, they have a fitness center which caters to the young adults through the seniors. They have professional fitness people that will help set you up on a program that's appropriate for where you are at that stage, whether it's fitness or age or health issues. They can help you set up an appropriate program. All types of different classes, from karate to yoga, Pilates, things that I've heard of, but not necessarily
but not been a part of.
And it's just a great family atmosphere. As we expand, we'll have a members lounge, we'll have an indoor pool. YMCA's are known for swimming, teaching swimming, and in our community where we're pretty much surrounded by water, there's no reason that every kid that grows up in this community shouldn't learn how to swim. So I'm hopeful between the city's facilities and the new YMCA facility that we can find ways to get all of our kids in the pool with some good training, so that if for no other reason, it's a safety feature should they ever be put in that position. But the Y offers very typical programs of a Y, but they do a wonderful job.
As viewers think about different groups in town to invest their dollars as it relates to nonprofit organizations, they may not have thought of the Y. They may not have thought of those programs as vehicles. Of course, you highlighted the capital campaign is still not quite over. There's still some more dollars needed. Share with viewers a little bit about what they could do. Maybe they don't have the dollars. Can they help out in the office in the fundraising aspect there?
Fundraising is an art, not a science. Anyone can help with that if they have friends, relatives that would think the YMCA mission is a good mission to follow. And yes, they can help. I think last time I talked, we were probably running about $500,000 below where we had hoped to be.
Okay.
And we're still striving towards it. We'll get there between now and when that key sticks into the door.
Listen to that.
We move forward. But yeah, there's ways to help through volunteers. There's no dollar amount that's too small. And as we've seen through some incredible generosity, the larger size amounts are amazing that people are willing to invest the amount of money they have into our facility.
So there's no dollar amount too large either, Jay?
There is not a dollar amount too large.
That's great.
In fact, there's a phase 2 and a phase 3.
Great.
So let's don't leave the focus on $500,000. I'm sure our management and board of directors look forward to many years to come, but we truly hope to get this phase built, stabilize ourselves in the new facility, and then we have hopefully greater growth opportunities down the road.
And you do have a very active board over the 25 years. As you see, I remember some guests years ago on Carolina People having Paul Himmelsbach on, or Buddy Stiers on, Joel Foster on, different folks actively involved, folks throughout the community that reach out in many different ways. I'm sure Georgetown has an equally strong association. Georgetown Memorial Hospital System's been a tremendous supporter. I know we've had a lot of support here locally, both from hospitals and others. You highlighted the Chapin Foundation, but the volunteer component there's also always.
It really is a very diverse board. You've got people that are plugged into our community at very high levels within the business community. That you have people that bring expertise, whether they were former teachers that can help us understand our after-school programs needs. Couldn't go without mentioning Alan Jeffcoat and Jack Himmelsbach, who were part of the board that started it 25 years ago, have been leaders from day one of this YMCA and continue to be leaders. When you see those two guys still out there smiling and preaching about the Y, you go, wow, I may be 10, 12 years into this, but I'm just getting started. These guys have shown me the way.
Right.
They paved it for us, and we continue to follow their lead. They've done a wonderful job.
25 years ago, celebrating the silver anniversary just this year, 2008.
I guess time goes fast.
Yeah,
fast.
It does. That's right. Speaking of time and time going fast, I think you highlighted your first year of coaching was when one of your boys was 4.
4 years
You have
old.
family here in the area, Jay.
I do. My mom and stepfather live here in Murrells Inlet, and they've lived on the creek down there for quite some time. Gene Burrows and Edgerton Burrows, and I have a stepbrother, stepsister, and of course my wife Cheryl and Max and Sean, my children. So my immediate family is here, and Cheryl's family is out of Atlanta. My little slip away from the coastal region for 6 years allowed me the opportunity to meet Cheryl. And
Yes.
so I have some interior connections too with family.
That's great. You all met in Atlanta, and you were able to pull her back.
It was pulling at the time. She grew up, was raised, and went to Emory University there in Atlanta. So the concept of living in a small tourist town wasn't probably something she dreamed of as a young lady.
Right.
But she's since turned to love the Myrtle Beach area and the coastal region, and has developed relationships that are that she wouldn't trade for anything today.
That's great. That's great. You shared early this morning, we were talking about a guest that I've got on the show tomorrow, Nelson Hardwick, that you've gotten real active with the church not far from here. And then, of course, have expanded that back to Myrtle Beach. Share with viewers a little bit about your faith and even how that ties in. You think, that's a real commitment. Of course, the YMCA, it being on Christian principles. A lot of folks focus on the Y, but the C in YMCA is a very important aspect there.
When I moved back from Atlanta, we were pregnant with our first son, Max. So my wife stayed in the Atlanta area for about 7 months to take advantage of her insurance and some maternity benefits that she had earned over the years. And so I lived here in Murrells Inlet with my family while we were building a house in Myrtle Beach. So it was logical to go to the local Episcopal church, Resurrection, at that time because it was convenient. That's where they went. And as my wife would visit, we'd all go together and really fell in love with Resurrection. It's a wonderful church family down here. I grew up going to Trinity in Myrtle Beach as a kid, having grown up there. As our kids got older, Sunday school became a real issue that they needed to be involved with.
Right.
Cheryl and I were struggling to get from Myrtle Beach on the north end to Surfside Beach as timely as we should have.
Right.
And, so we decided to try Trinity in Myrtle Beach, which is where I grew up, and quickly found that very little difference between them. Obviously, they're both Episcopal religions, Christian based from that viewpoint, and just it was a natural fit. We continue to go to Trinity. Cheryl served on the vestry there and in their leadership, and it's our second family, as we've all heard, your church family. As I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate the value of that.
Even more.
And that does help me tie in over to the YMCA. And even though the Y is Christian oriented, the Y has been very wonderful to reach out. It's not limited to Christians. And I have great supporters that I've called on over the years that aren't Christians, that are wonderful, committed people to their religion, and they've continued to support the Y because they see the benefits to the community. A lot of their children have played in the Y's program, but clearly there's a direct tie to me through my religion.
You oftentimes see it driving by and see it on the soccer fields, the folks kneeling prior to a game or at the end of a game or during a basketball game before a game kicks off, kneeling in prayer at the same time as you say. Clearly it's open to everybody.
Absolutely. And it's the fun part of that as a coach. Sometimes as an adult I may get a little bit too caught up and I start thinking about, okay, who am I going to play where am I going to play? And I reminded our kids before every match, it's your job to remind me for us to kneel. And the kids really do a fantastic job. Coach, it's time for our kids.
Coach.
And so, you will see that. And we do get caught up sometimes in focusing on the event that's going on, but we often have to be reminded, and the Y does a good job. That's one of the beautiful things about the Y.
Right. And you think, of course, as just those aspects of seeing the boys mature and you mature, those aspects over the years, the involvement in many nonprofit organizations. I saw you've been very active in Rotary or in Sertoma for many years. To think about groups, but to see the young men, to see the boys grow into young men, that excitement's probably a big high for you.
It is priceless, as many people have said before me. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
If a viewer had that opportunity and could make some dollars, are there places they could put their dollars? Could they spearhead them into the capital campaign into a certain area? Are there needs in particular for this last 500,000 or more? Are there particular needs that someone needs to think about?
There are the footprint, the facility is pretty much nailed down at this point. As you can imagine, with the construction contract, you got to pretty much lay it out. So the footprint today, in the absence of one of those incredible gifts, has been planned for this phase. But there are a lot of naming opportunities still left. That's part of the fundraising, and like in the Claire, naming it after Claire through the Chapin Foundation, their donation was just amazing.
Right.
And so there are other opportunities within the facility where people can recognize family members or whoever they choose to. Or if they want to be anonymous, that's fine too. So yeah, there's still opportunities, but the footprint today is, for the most part, locked in.
That's tremendous. Jay, I'm sorry we've run out of time. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the campaign. Keep it going.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to a little more with Jay Huggins coming up next. I wish you could have heard Jay talking off camera. It helped me highlight the central word that ties them all together. It's a simple word. It starts with an F and ends with a Y. Family. Think about that. He was wrapping up all these great nonprofit and volunteer activities he was doing to focus on his family. At that time, it was not only his immediate family, but his family of players that he was dealing with out on the soccer field, his family of associates and other folks there at Crescent Bank, and the family there at the Grand Strand Family YMCA. There's a reason that word ends with a Y, ties into the YMCA. Think about them. Think about the Grand Strand Family YMCA and the need to support them. They've got a simple phone number and two guys you can ask for, Matt Dembski and John Roden, 843-449-9622, 843-449-9622, or go online to gsfymca.org. A lot of great information there about the hours. If you've never been to the Y, come on by. But think about the commitment there that the community's made, and the Chapin Foundation, and so many of the amazing donors throughout the years getting ready for the opening 12 to 18 months from now. You can be a part of it. Give them a call. Family's what it's all about. For Jay Huggins, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you. My
Absolutely.
pleasure. Enjoy it.
Yeah.